Hello everybody, welcome back to my humble abode. I hope you're all staying healthy and wearing your masks to protect each other when you head outside. Now in a normal year we'd be ramping up to the World Championship right about now, but this year has been anything but normal. Live in-person events are not a possibility right now, so today I am here to announce the start of a new event that you can take part in from home or wherever you're watching this video. An event that lets you make a permanent, tangible impact on the game you love. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, Create a Card Project. Create a Card Project is your chance to guide the creation of a world premiere card to appear in one of our 2021 releases. This project will consist of 3 total phases, the first of which is choosing a theme to create a card for. To that end, I have in front of me 2 decks of 16 cards each. We started planning for this project with a list of 84 possible themes, which, after applying numerous strict selection criteria, was reduced down to 16. Each of those 16 themes is represented in this deck by a well-known monster from that theme. The other deck contains the letters A through H, twice each. First thing we gotta do before we can go any further is randomize these 2 decks. So I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle them both, and then we will determine a random cut using dice. Alright, now that we've got these shuffled, let's do a cut, starting with the monster deck. Six, 7, 6. Alright, we'll cut 13 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Alright, that one's cut. And then the right-hand deck. 2, 5, and 2 is 7. We'll cut 7 cards off this deck. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Alright, now that these 2 decks are shuffled and cut, I'm going to begin to reveal the cards from each one at a time. The 16 deck themes will be placed in a single elimination bracket as they are revealed, and their placement will be based on the letter drawn from the other deck. The theme we'll be creating World Premiere card for will be the theme that comes out on top of this bracket, and the winner of each head-to-head matchup in the bracket will be determined by your votes. The links to where you can vote will be down in the video description after the selection is complete, and you'll be able to find them on our social media pages as well. I think that this will be a fun event for everyone, but please do take the voting seriously. Only the overall winning theme will move on to the next stage of the project. So please make sure that you vote on all the matches, and in each match, vote for the theme that you would personally prefer between the 2, so that you have no regrets in the end. Now then, let's begin. The first theme will be Valkyries. Alright, well, the Valkyrie theme are Siegfried's cards from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Animated series. The Valkyries, along with Mischief of the Time Goddess, finally made it to print in Shadows in Valhalla back in 2018. It's a strategy based on defeating the opponent with 2 swift strikes, giving the opponent no time to react in between, thanks to Mischief of the Time Goddess. Ride of the Valkyries lets you flood the field with Valkyries, then after they all attack, you play Mischief of the Time Goddess, skip your opponent's entire turn, move the game to your next battle phase, all your monsters attack again to secure victory. And the Valkyries will be playing in match C. Alright. Match C. Let me move these back here just a little bit. The next theme to be participating will be TG. TG. Okay, let me just fill that out here. TG are Bruno, or Antinomi's, cards from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. They were introduced in Extreme Victory, the last of the 5Ds era core sets. This is a deck that's all about pumping out synchro monsters. Lots of synchro monsters. And you're trying to get a combination of synchro tuners and synchro non-tuners whose levels add up to 12, so that you can summon the 4,000 attack and defense TG Halberd Cannon, which you can negate a summon every turn. TG Hyper Librarian gets the most attention out of any of the TG cards because it's useful in a lot of different synchro strategies, adding a free draw onto every synchro summon. But if you ever find a situation where you're leaving your Crystron Halqifibrax on the field for more than 10 seconds, you might want to give TG Wonder Magician a look too. Now, TGs will be playing in match H. H. So A, B, C, D is going to be on the left half of the bracket, and the others will be on the right side of the bracket. So H over here. H for Hyper Librarian, I suppose. The next theme to participate in the Create a Card project will be the Weather Painters. The Weather theme from Spirit Warriors back in 2017 is made up of Weather Painter monsters and their canvas, spell, and trap cards. It's a positioning-based theme where theme monsters that are in the same column as a canvas, or in the columns adjacent to it, are granted an effect that they can activate by banishing themselves, and then the banished Weather Painters come back on the next standby phase. Or the standby phase of the next turn, rather. Gotta be specific there. Weather Painter Rainbow does the same. She grants an ability to the monsters she points to, and that ability is the ability to negate any card or effect that is activated. And she can even negate a summon herself, so she's quite a powerful boss monster. If you ever forget where the weather canvases apply their abilities, you can just take a look at the arrows on Weather Painter Rainbow because it's the same as hers. In fact, if you do this, you can get kind of a visual image of how it works. And the Weather Painters will be competing in match A. Interesting. Alright. Put A over here. Keep them in frame. And actually C should go down here. Okay. The next theme to participate in the project will be... Oh, Sylvans. Sylvans are interesting. They're actually a historically important theme. They're a Plant Pixies theme from Legacy of the Valiant back in 2014, and they are historically important because this is the theme that led us to codify Excavate as a specific game action. And you can find the rules for that on page 54 of the current rulebook in the glossary. The Sylvan strategy is based on summoning big plant monsters like Hermitry here, and then manipulating the top cards of your deck to put Sylvan monsters on top, so that you can use the excavation abilities of your monsters on the field to excavate and send those Sylvan cards to the graveyard, which then triggers their other abilities. It's kind of like the predecessors to Adamancipator. You got Adamancipators and excavating theme that does synchros. Sylvans were the first excavating theme. They do Xyz monsters. And they will be competing in match D. Alright? Match D. The next theme to participate in the Create a Card project will be frogs. Good old frogs. Frogs are a theme that has been built up one card at a time over a great number of sets over a great number of years. Swap Frog here was originally from Stardust Overdrive in 2009, but frog-powered strategies have been around since Frog Monarchs, powered by Treeborn Frog, all the way back in 2006. Current niche for frogs is an Xyz summoning deck, using Totally Awesome to summon more frogs every turn and keep them protected. Now, while frogs are normally mixed with Paleozoic cards in the Paleozoic frog deck, voting for frogs here is specifically a vote for frogs. If they win, a new Paleozoic trap is not an option. So keep that in mind. And they will participate in match H. Oh, okay. So frogs and TG will be taking each other on in match H, which is sliding off camera slightly. There we go. The next theme to participate will be Cyber Angels. Cyber Angels. They were Alexis's monsters from Season 2 onward in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and again in her appearance in Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5. They were first released in Dragons of Legend Unleashed, and they're a fairy ritual theme that is constantly recouping the cards they use for their ritual summons through various means. And the ritual monsters generally deal with cards in non-standard ways, like forcing your opponent to send cards to the graveyard, or taking control of monsters in one case. The most famous Cyber Angel is Benten, which is used in a variety of ritual strategies for her powerful search effect that triggers when she is tributed. And Cyber Angel will be taking part in match D, taking on Sylvans. Sylvans versus Cyber Angels. Nature versus technology in a way. Though they are fairies, I guess they are kind of cyber in the name. That's an interesting matchup. Two wildly different decks. Two wildly different decks on the other side as well. This is shaping up to be quite interesting. Let's see what the next theme to take part in the project will be. It's Dynamist. Dynamist. That is a pendulum theme introduced in Breakers of Shadow back in 2016. But I wouldn't blame you if you missed them, because that was also the set that cards like Twin Twister, or Performer Pal Pendulum Sorcerer, or Cyber Dragon Infinity came out in. They are an aggressive theme filled with special summoning and battle-based effects on the monster halves of the cards, and protection abilities on the spell halves. They're all level 4 or 5, and have pendulum scales of 3 or 6. The deck has no themed extra deck monsters, but that just gives you plenty of room for powerful link monsters, as well as things like the Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity package. They also have great spell and trap support, with cards like Dynamist Charge and Dynamist Howling. It's a pretty fun deck, it's worth giving a shot sometime. And they will be taking part in Match B. That's our first B. Alright, make sure everything's in frame. There we go. A, B, C, D. Great. The next theme to take part in this project is going to be Gradles. Gradles. Gradle, let me just bring them up here. They are a theme about amorphous alien slime monsters that kind of get their hooks into your opponent's monster's brains, giving you control of them. The Gradle cannot be removed from the field without then destroying the monster that it's equipped to. Gradles can also combine to form Gradle Dragon, a powerful synchro monster that's capable of mass destruction. In fact, it destroys things up to the number of water monsters that are used for the synchro summon of the card. This theme was first introduced in Dimension of Chaos back in 2015, and various Gradle monsters have seen play in side decks to deal with pesky, hard-to-destroy monsters by taking control of them instead. And they will take part in Match A. So we're going to have Weather Painters versus Gradles in Match A. Let's make sure that we get that all on screen. Maybe a little bit more real estate for all of these decks. Alright. The next theme will be Fire Kings. Fire Kings. The Fire Kings were first introduced back in 2013 in their own structure deck, the Onslaught of the Fire Kings structure deck. This is a strategy that's all about destroying your own monsters with effects to trigger their abilities. Something that crops up regularly these days in decks like Dinosaurs or True Dracos, but it was revolutionary at the time. The only thing that really benefited from that beforehand was Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. Fire King High Avatar Garunix was often compared to Nephthys, which was also included in that structure deck, but the two strategies have branched out in completely different directions since then. Sacred Phoenix is now a ritual deck, and Fire Kings is still counting on its main deck monsters. And it is going to be competing in Match E. B, C, D, E. On this side. We got plenty filled out on the left side. We got to fill out the right side of this bracket. The next theme to participate is Mermails. Mermails. Mermails are they're a very popular theme, but we don't really see a whole lot of them these days. They debuted back in Abyss Rising a few weeks after the Atlantean monsters dropped in Realm of the Sea Emperor's structure deck. The two themes immediately became best friends, and remain so to this day, but we don't really see regular old Mermail decks anymore. But for the purpose of this project, we are specifically talking about Mermails here, not Mermail Atlanteans. Mermails, their main deck monsters, come in 3 types. They've got level 3 Aqua monsters, level 4 Fish monsters, and level 7 Sea Serpents, like Abyss Megalo here. They also have a rank 3 and rank 7 Xyz monster. Mermail Abyss Megalo is the most widely known and played Mermail monster, but the rank 7 Xyz monster, Abyss Gaius, is their boss monster. And while there was a great stretch of time where he wasn't really part of the core strategy, he's re-emerged as of late. He's valued as an important monster to have on your end board, preventing attacks of high-level monsters like Synchros, and providing a source of monster effect negation. And Mermails will be competing in Match G. G. Alright, I think I got just enough room there. Let's see what the next theme is going to be. Lightsworn. Lightsworn. Lightsworn's another oldie but a goodie from the end of the GX era. It was introduced in Light of Destruction. They were a bit of a controversial strategy back in 2008, offering you great power but consuming your deck at the end of every turn, or sometimes on summon in the case of Celestia. Their boss monster, Judgment Dragon, was wildly powerful, especially in multiples. The first would drop, clear the field, and then the second and sometimes third would drop in as well to end duels in a flash. Lightsworn is one of the first major decks to have a card that you absolutely don't want to draw, and that's Wolf, the Lightsworn Beast. But the Lightsworn that I believe has made it into the most decks that aren't Lightsworn is Lumina. And they will be competing in Match B against Dynamist. Lightsworn versus Dynamist. I wonder how that's going to turn out. And, they can put the other B over here as well. There we go. Alright, we're getting down to it. We only got 5 left. Almost all are going to be on the right side. And the next theme is X-Sabers. X-Sabers. X-Sabers are a strategy that's all about aggression and attacking every part of your opponent's game. They're after your life points, they're after your cards in hand, and they're capable of mass removal of both your monsters and your spell and trap cards. They could even do mass summoning as well. The first X-Sabers were released in the 2009 starter deck, and of the 3 in that deck, X-Saber Airbellum immediately took competition by storm as the top choice to summon with Rescue Cat. Now, remember, Rescue Cat's effect was different back then, and the Airbellums that you summoned would have their effects active and able to tear cards out of your opponent's hand. X-Sabers have a number of very powerful but very situational spell and trap cards, and the 2 that saw the most use back in the day were Saber Hole and Saber Slash. Gotham's Emergency Call, not actually a Saber card, but I suppose it counts too. And the X-Sabers will be playing in Match E. It'll be X-Sabers versus Fire Kings. That's interesting. A deck that destroys a lot of cards versus a deck that likes having a lot of its cards destroyed. Interesting. Next up, Fortune Ladies. Fortune Ladies were Dark Signer Carly's deck from Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. They all have question mark attack and defense, and while on their field, their attack and defense are defined by their level times a certain number. Their level increases during each of your standby phases, so the longer they stay on the field, the stronger they get. But you need to balance that element of the strategy out with the powerful effects they can generate by being banished or summoned to the field under certain conditions. Fortune Lady Every is a strong boss monster that can revive herself on the opponent's end phase and banishes an opponent's face-up monster every time she powers herself up. And Fortune Ladies will be competing in Match F. There's our first one for F. F for Fortune Lady, I suppose. Alright. Comes up here. Just enough room. Just enough room to sneak in there. And the next theme to participate is Photon. Photon. Now, the Galaxy Eyes family of monsters has a number of different branches, but it is the Photon branch of that tree that has the closest ties to Kite as he's depicted in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. Remember, he uses the Cypher monsters in his Arc 5 incarnation. Photon monsters are largely concerned with meeting the summoning, the extra summoning condition for Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon, of tributing 2 monsters with 2,000 or more attack. So decks concentrated around Photon monsters have a lot of 2,000 plus attack monsters that can be special summoned, and effects that bump up the attack of monsters to reach that 2,000 mark. Photon Thrasher is probably the most well-known of these, seen play in a wide variety of other decks as a free, large special summon, especially of a level 4 warrior monster. And Photons will be competing in Match G. Match G. You know, that's just about the same kind of time period that those things came out, is it not? Maybe a little bit later. A little bit later on. I often get Photon Shockwave and Abyss Rising mixed up, even though they are a year apart. Alright, down to the last two. Hazy Flame. Hazy Flame is the next theme to be participating. Now, 2013's Cosmo Blazer was widely known as the set that introduced Brotherhood of the Fire Fist, but it also introduced the lesser-known Hazy Flame monsters. Hazy Flame monsters are level 6 fire monsters. They have a number of different types. I think there's Winged Beast, Dinosaur, there's all sorts of stuff in there. Pyro's in there. And they share a common effect of being untargetable by your opponent's card effects. Hazy Flame is an Xyz summoning theme, as you can see. And its boss monster, Hazy Flame Basiltris, is notable for being both the first Xyz monster that lets you choose how many materials you want to use to Xyz summon it, anywhere from 2 to 5, as well as the first monster that gained additional abilities based on the number of materials that it currently has. And you might ask, well, what about Thunderspark Dragon? Thunderspark Dragon always has 2 materials, or always has 2 abilities, and you just have to pick which one you use. Basiltris actually gains more abilities the more Xyz materials it has. And it will be competing in Match F. Match F against Fortune Ladies. How that works out. Match F, Fortune Lady, Flame. And that means that the last one is going to be the opponent of Valkyries over in C. And that theme will be Insectors. Insectors is the final theme that will be taking part in the Create a Card project. Now, Insectors were originally introduced back in Order of Chaos in 2012. They're a dark insect theme focused on equip spells and Xyz summoning. And not only do they have their own very powerful equip spells like Insector Sword Excalibur, Insector monsters can equip to each other, increasing the levels and providing more equip spells to use to activate their effects. Now, Insector Exbeetle is their boss monster, but the most well-known Insectors are Dragonfly and Hornet, who work together to create a brutal field-clearing, hand-filling big damage combo. And we already know that they are competing against Valkyries over in Match C. Alright, so that is all 8 matchups. We've revealed all the themes. We know who is playing who. And now that the bracket is set, here's how this is going to work. We're going to have 2 matches each week. One will start on Tuesday and last through Thursday, and the other will start Friday and last through Monday. When we have an overall winner, we'll be back to talk about the next phase of the project. First match is going to be Match A, the Weather versus Gradles, and that'll begin on Tuesday. You'll find the information you need to vote down below or on our social media pages. I hope that everybody's going to enjoy this project. I am greatly looking forward to see what you decide on over the course of the next couple of months. Until next time, stay safe, everybody.